It's an honor for me to speak at the conference. Thank you so much for the invitation. Last year, there was a centenary of the Minsk Treaty between Lithuania and Soviet Russia. Now we mark 30 years from the treaty between new Lithuania and new Russia. I do express my personal views here, which do not reflect position of any institution, being it Russian or Western. And I would start with saying that I do like Lithuania very much. I've been there many times, including at the beginning of Lithuanian statehood restoration in very late 80s, early 90s. There is such an expression to stand at the source. I can say that I stood near the source. First, when staying near Boris Yeltsin at night of January 13th, 1991, when he got the news about Vilnius events and decided to fly to Baltics. And second, when working with colleagues on the concept of Russia's relationship with former Union republics. Unfortunately, the development of this relationship is different from what has been expected that time. And unfortunately, our relations, I mean Russia's Lithuanian relations, which looked hopeful at a time of having common enemy represented by the Union authorities, they have deteriorated last 2 decades. In official Russia's view, there are in a hopeless dead end. This is the way how Maria Zakharova, spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, has put it. Baltics comes 8th in top 10 in the list of top 10 enemies of Russia by opinion polls, by Levada Center opinion polls, after the United States, Ukraine, Great Britain, EU, Poland, West, the West in general, and Germany. So the point is that not only relations are bad between our states, but the vision of the other side is pretty grim if to look either from Russia's or from Lithuania's side. What does it mean in terms of practical cooperation? Yes, there is some practical cooperation, and Lithuanian ambassador Eitvydas Vairūnas last year did publish a rather lengthy article describing what's going on in Russian-Lithuanian relationship. Whether these relations in practical sense are intensive or sufficient for both Lithuania and Russia, if especially to have in mind how it has started, the answer should be no. Our relationship is not as good as one should expect and one should hope for from both sides of the border. So the ambassador tells about different practical moves made, including negotiation on the border, including the transit to and from Kaliningrad region, where we do see certain problems, including trade, which by no means can be considered to be good enough if to think in terms of economical might of both countries. I think that the most recent figure is $3 billion. The problem is not that much about what's going on now, and it's understandable that Lithuania can be seen as part of the European Union, part of NATO, and relationship between Russia and Lithuania are almost totally defined by belongingness of Lithuania to these bigger entities, and they cannot be better than relationship between Russia and NATO from one side, relationship between Russia and European Union from other side. Whether there are some hopes for future, it's the question. Hopes for improving our relationship, perhaps not that much, having in mind how things are developing from both sides of the border. The ambassador, when speaking about how to improve our relationship, focuses on direct exchange between municipalities and towns of both countries. He is saying that Kaunas will be the cultural capital of Europe the next year, and it gives new opportunities for direct contacts. And there are prospects for cooperation between Lithuania and Kaliningrad region, especially in the sphere of the Baltic Sea ecology, Kursk Strait and Kursk Bay, and other important things. I would say that, in my view, there are some practical moves, not necessarily at the level of states, but made by activists from both sides. And I would mention the Friends of European Russia Forum with Russian Dialogues series by the Honorable Andrus Kubilius. We are trying to do something similar under the aegis of the European Dialogue Expert Group. Unfortunately, we can rephrase the famous expression that relations between countries, between our countries in particular, are too important to leave them to state officials. However, it looks like in Russia's case, relations are almost monopolized by the state. So it's needed to promote contacts people by people, to promote contacts at all levels. Unfortunately, it's not that easy, having in mind huge centralization which took place in Russia and which made it impossible to cooperate actively at the level of municipalities like it was going on a while ago, and at the level of civil society organizations. But nevertheless, there are some prospects for future, and I think it's very important to use all of them, especially now when there are a few of them. With saying this, I'd like to express my hopes that in near future, or at least in midterm, relations between Russia and Lithuania will step by step come back to the model which was here in 90s, and will improve essentially even in comparison to that time. Thank you.